I apologize, everyone. We had some technical difficulties, but I think we're good. Two panelists are good to go. But
Yeah.
awesome. Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Henry. I'm one of your co-chairs for the SHEMA Professional Development Committee, and I'm really excited for this webinar that we are co-presenting with the Student Shop Manager Consortium. I'm going to be really brief. Please um, any questions you have, put in the Q&A and we will ask our wonderful panelists afterwards. This is all from me. I'm going to turn it over now.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Just a quick tech check. You're hearing us okay? You hear my voice, Elliot?
Testing, testing. This is Jose. Hi, everyone.
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. Cool. So thanks, everybody. Sorry for the delay, but we're here. We made it. Here we are, OriginLabs. We are between two saws.
That's
You can't
right.
maybe you just see one of them. But yeah, thanks for joining us. There is a new makerspace on campus, OriginLabs, here at Penn State. And we're going to tell you about a story, a bit of a collaboration and some lessons learned between EHS and operations and EHS, between a safety guy and a shop manager. Now, Jose, remind me, which one am I again?
I could be wrong about this, Elliot, but I think you're the safety guy.
Thanks for clearing that up. We are indeed between two saws. Jose, do you know the internet show Between Two Ferns?
I think I've heard of it.
Okay, well, the best references are the ones you have to explain and then really don't refer to throughout. So I'm glad you at least recognize that parody. It's also a collaboration between SHEMA and SSMC. SHEMA, of course, being the membership-driven organization the safety professionals are a part of that work at universities, college campuses, things like that, and SSMC.
The Student Shop Managers Consortium are really fantastic resources for professionals and shop managers at educational makerspaces around the country.
Cool. So again, my name is Elliot Laratonda, safety advisor at Penn State EHS, and I'm joined by Jose Nunez, shop manager at OriginLabs, and we'll get to tell a little bit more about our backgrounds throughout. But for now, it's a welcome. We're here. We're made it after some delay, but thank you so much. I'm going to go to the next slide here. And first, I do just have some additional housekeeping items to cover. Do you mind if I cover some housekeeping items?
Go for it, my friend.
A dustpan, pine saw, and just one more, Lysol. Housekeeping. That's just my housekeeping items to cover. The best part is Jose didn't know that bit was in there, and
I was running low on those. Thanks for bringing them by.
No, you can't tell by, looking around. It is spotless here. You guys can't get the full flavor, but high housekeeping standards, high safety standards, and you'll get a more of a flavor for that as we go through the presentation and the conversation. Again, like Elizabeth mentioned, please contribute to this conversation. Ask questions, make some comments. There'll be more dry, horrible humor involved, but I'm here for it. So
Me too.
All right. So Jose, first, let's start up with a description of OriginLabs, the awesome work you guys do here. Just tell us a bit about it. And at the meantime, I'll play this video we have.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Elliot. So OriginLabs, like Elliot said, we're located here at Penn State, and we are a resource for product and prototyping development for entrepreneurial endeavors. Our main mission is to provide resources for startups, for businesses, that maybe have a product or prototype that they need help developing, iterating on, what have you. We have over $1 million worth of equipment at this point. We have about 7,000 square feet of space carved out of the Eric J. Barron Innovation Hub here at Penn State. And we have a variety of tools and knowledge in the interest of additive and subtractive processes to help with product and prototyping development. We're a two-armed operation. We have a makerspace and a service bureau. So if you want to build the project yourself, or if you can hire us to help you build the project or help advise you on your project. Yeah.
Yeah, no, awesome. It's so hard to cover all the amazing stuff you can do here and that you guys do here in just an overview. Hope you guys are enjoying the drone video here. I know it's a bit choppy. It comes out on your end. But yeah, you get a flavor for the space, the layout. the facility that we're sitting in here. Kind of, let's just work through it if you don't mind. So
Absolutely.
we have the assembly area I'm looking at in the far corner, and that's where people are going to put together their fabricated pieces, their cut sets, maybe from woodworking or the metalworking side. I'm also looking at a collaborative robot there.
That's right. We have collaborative robotics here at Origin Labs. We have 4 collaborative robotic arms, as well as a welding robot.
Yes.
We offer workshops on those. You can take free trainings on those, and you can come in and use them with a membership.
Yeah, I myself have participated in a few different workshops. There was a 3D printing workshop.
Yep.
There was the robotic welder. I got to
Yep.
take a piece home with me, welded something that hangs on my wall still. And just making our way around the shop here, I see the wood CNC there, and then we move into really the woodworking space
Yeah.
with a variety of any and all the tools that you could ever want and imagine. Even the large panel saw here, the saw stop, miter saw, and then we get into the metalworking space. Fully outfitted for your needs.
Yeah, we have a variety of analog and digital tools to help with your various fabrication needs. Our woodworking lab is stocked with, it's pretty well stocked. We have quite a wide variety of tools, like Elliot said, our sliding table panel saw, 2 band saws, our CNC router, our saw stop over here, our compound miter saw. Our metalworking lab is outfitted for sheet metal applications. So we've got box and pan brake, slip roll, Hausfeld bender, horizontal shear, and CNC fiber laser. We've got upstairs, we have our rapid prototyping lab. We have our Trotec laser cutters up there, our vinyl printer and plotter, soldering station, microelectronics, CNC mill, CNC lathe, additive manufacturing lab, computer lab, collaborative robotics, laser scanner. It's really a dream shop. Oh, welding lab, lab
Yep, I
for
was going to
painting and
add.
finishing
Yeah.
operations. I can't believe I almost forgot that. I
Yeah.
love the welding
The
lab.
welding lab, I enjoy time in there as well. A surfacing lab with a spray booth type
That's right.
operation
Tied
we
into
have there on our
reaction.
side here. And we get to see some photos there. We kind of hit, some of these operations and equipment while that video was playing. Any others kind of come to mind now that we're refreshed with these images here? Anything you'd like to call attention to or capabilities, whether it's upstairs in digital manufacturing or the downstairs analog space?
Yeah, I think a lot of people who haven't heard of us yet are really surprised to learn of the wide variety of equipment and capabilities that we have available. We are pretty well outfitted with pretty robust and high-end analog equipment and digital equipment, and we can help you use them together to help aid in your project. And we welcome all projects, even if they're not entrepreneurial.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that sparked a few more questions. First, could you tell us a bit about your model for membership,
Yeah.
and maybe speak towards, because this might be a bit unique compared to others on the call here. You service the community as a whole, Penn State, faculty, students, which has changed recently as far as the model of their membership and whatever and the cost.
Sure.
And then the public at large. So could you go through that and articulate that a bit better?
I'd be happy to. Yeah, great question. So there are a variety of fabrication spaces here at Penn State, and some of them have redundant equipment in line with our equipment here at Origin Labs. What makes us unique is that in our position here at Penn State is that we serve the campus as well as the community. So our membership population is a mixture of students, of faculty, of staff, and community members, some who live locally, some who came through on a visit and could swing by every year. So what we like to say is anyone who is willing to come out to us, we are going to try to help. So we have 2 types of memberships that you can take out here at Origin Labs. We have a Makerspace membership and a Service Bureau membership. So the Service Bureau membership is cost-free. There's no monthly fee, and it is ideal for the customer that's hiring us to build a project for them. Maybe they just need a 3D print from us. We're going to bill them for those services at cost.
Yeah.
Okay. The Makerspace membership is ideal for the customer that wants access to the analog equipment to build their own project. So they would start by taking a training with me. The trainings are always going to be free, and you need to take those trainings to access the analog tools. And then after you take the training, you can take out a Makerspace membership and use the tools for your project.
Sure.
Student memberships are free. It's covered by student fees. For
Awesome.
community members and staff, I don't think it's more expensive than $35 a month.
Gotcha. Amazing resource for the students. I'm sure you've exploded, your footprint or the literal footprints, in the shop. Awesome. If I was a student, I'd be taking advantage of it for sure. I think that covers it. So Service Bureau for, hey, I want you to make me this, or I need some help. Can you make this for me? Versus Makerspace, I have the skills and interest to make it myself.
Absolutely. And we're here to advise, assist with your projects. and make sure everything's happening safely.
So what does it take to run a place like this? Let's do
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah, so we have a really talented team. We're very fortunate to have a lot of talented team members. Our fearless leader, our director, Ryan Mandel. My talented peer, Tristan, he's our service bureau manager. Like I said, I manage the day-to-day operations and the makerspace side.
Mhm.
Our very capable student engagement outreach coordinator, Sarah Fasco. She's in charge of student-facing initiatives with Origin Labs, and she's creating a really exciting line of make and take workshops this year
Awesome.
that students should check out. And then we also have a really talented and capable team of about 10 technicians, a combination of students and community members.
Gotcha. So everything that we're talking to is building the context for the space and the type of operation, so you can relate on your university campuses, and or if you're the shop side of the house too. So I hope you find that helpful. Yes, we're getting to the safety stuff, but it's essential to talk about your operation and the business functions and kind of the setup and the expectations, so you can kind of picture the things that we're going to get into. Once again, chat, please use that chat. Go ahead and enter any questions or comments, implications of safety, things you're already thinking about. And again, it can be operations based too, not just safety. That was always the vision of this collaboration, is to give both flavors, because that's the whole idea, right? We want to demonstrate that safety and operations should be integrated.
Absolutely.
They're both important, right?
Absolutely.
And they are. Without one, you can't have the other, and safety, of course, being a core value of Origin Labs. So yeah, please drop that in the chat. So Jose, pop quiz. I need to cover the screen, or don't look at the screen, right? What are the EHS programs or topics that apply to this space?
Elliot, I'm pretty sure you're the safety guy. Why don't you handle that one?
That's fine. That's fine. So as you guys imagined and probably could appreciate even from the drone footage, a variety of environmental health and safety programs are going to apply to a space and an operation like this. Of course, we're sitting in the fabrication area, so you have implications of machine shop safety, portable power tools, even hand tools. We have robotic safety, though you guys use collaborative robots, which takes a lot of the point of operation hazard away. But we still have to worry about end effector hazards, and we talked about that during the welding robot assessment that we did. Hot work, so not only the robot, but our hot work welding room. PPE, that we talked about the laser cutters. We do have laser cutter guidance here at the university. Implications of fire safety, portable fire extinguishers, means of egress, emergency planning, things like that. Some of the basics that are going to apply to lots of locations, like electrical safety as well. You have implications of energy control and lockout tagout for servicing equipment. Powered industrial trucks, there is one that you can't kind of see behind us in the, let's call it, loading dock material handling area. So some of that we're going to talk about, that we work together on. A few others. Yeah, we do have occupational medicine services related to hearing conservation. The shop does opt into that program, as well as respiratory protection, specifically for the metal 3D printer and loading of powders. More on that to come, or ask your questions, please, in the chat. You could talk a lot about general 3D printer safety, particularly probably the health hazards we could key in on. If anyone's interested, please let us know. And then waste management, again, particularly in the digital manufacturing location and for 3D printers, but for shop operations too. Think back, Jose, if you don't mind. And by the way, we're going to refer back to that inventory or EHS profile, because we provided a takeaway for you all at the end of this webinar. So you can download the presentation, and you're going to get a safety checklist for a makerspace location, as well as a punch list that specifically came from this shop, things that we identified as findings or things that we could tackle together. And I hope you find that really helpful if you indeed have a new makerspace on your campus. Okay.
Absolutely.
But let's think back, Jose, to the start. When this building was under construction. I remember taking tours when it was just, framing and plywood. And how did we work together at the very beginning, before the tools were even here, before we had a whole crew hired out and everything that you guys did? What were some things that we worked out together? Because now this is the section for individuals to be inspired by some proactive safety. That's what this slide is about: proactive safety and safety by design. How did we incorporate safety by design in the early days?
Yeah, that's a great question, Elliot. So, as I recall, you were actually part of my hiring committee, and I remember you interviewing me and asking me for my ideas on safety culture, implementing safety philosophy. So, right from the beginning, you were proactive in helping to establish that relationship between the two of us. And now, 3 years later, you and I have encountered a lot of challenges, some expected, some unexpected. Some that immediately come to mind, a lot of our tools, you worked with our director to inform the purchasing decisions, but there were a couple case specific examples where the industry guard, the guard from the manufacturer, was not sufficient for the way we're deploying the tool here in an educational environment. So we worked with you to advise us on designing modular solutions that we could design and fabricate right here in house to replace some of those guards. And they're modular, so it doesn't bring in any violations of warranty or anything like that. Sometimes routine things like inspection of eye wash stations, audits of our laser equipment. One of the photos I have up here on the slide are some bottles of assist gas that tie into our fiber cell laser. I remember when that came in, it's not really my area of expertise, and I had a lot of questions about what types of hoses I needed to make sure that they were safe and in line with the requirements, safety requirements, and the needs of that particular piece of equipment. And EHS was tremendous in hooking us up with experts to help inform our purchasing decisions.
No, yeah, thanks for recalling those examples. And, of course, it's not just me. We have a team, of course, right, in our department at EHS. I know you work with the Aux Safety Group for proactive machine guarding assessment of equipment. A lot of your equipment is top of the line from Europe, Germany.
Yeah, a lot of a lot of our equipment's from Felder Group, an Austrian-based.
Yep. Super great
company,
stuff,
yeah.
by the way. But yeah, so first of all, even US-based companies, there's nothing forcing them to manufacture equipment that complies with, say, OSHA standards. You can get stuff and come across stuff that does not comply with our expectations through OSHA and workplace safety. But especially when you're buying things overseas or in different countries, that's also the case, of course. And so we've had some examples of that. So you worked with our Aux Safety Group to proactively, I think Ryan, sending over the inventory of, hey, this is the stuff that we're going to buy. Check out the guarding features. Does this all make sense and align with what we would expect for guarding? So that's a great way, proactive safety by design before equipment is even purchased. Highly recommended if you're setting up a new makerspace. There was another opportunity that we took advantage of together, and it was a lot of fun, is that I piloted all the training.
That's right. Thank you for reminding me of that. When I first started, we had maybe 3 tools in house. We had our CNC router and a couple of drill presses. So my first 6 months on the job was waiting for tools to arrive, get them installed, get them set up, and start developing our training program. So you very fortunately and helpfully attended all of the clearance trainings that we designed, and you helped to point out maybe things that I forgot to mention, things that would be worthwhile including, and that also helped to inform us as we developed the SOPs for those tools. So it was really a tremendous thing that you did for us.
No, it was, I reap the benefits. I get to use the shop and everything. So it's a kind of 2 for 1. But another example of something that I would highly encourage, and this is words of advice to both the EHS side and the shop supervision side, is rope in your EHS advocates, professionals sooner than later. And then before individuals are giving training or receiving training, you can have a safety professional go through those sessions. And, of course, it's great already to begin with, but there's always room for opportunity where we get to point out of, maybe I would instruct to unplug the machine before removing this guard, and this is why. And so there was definitely, really good outcomes that came from that process.
Absolutely.
Your friendly safety guy or gal piloting, trying out your training that users are going to receive. Also on the SOP thing, another thing that I definitely learned through this process, also working with other SSMC representatives, is that spaces like this, in my opinion, they know how to write SOPs, right? They're the expert users, right? The power users of all of these equipment, they're going to understand it best. But where to start, right? So groups like this need, let's call it an SOP for an SOP, right? A template for an SOP. And that can be really helpful. And instead of just reviewing and you find that they're all in, perhaps at other locations, inconsistent formats or this, that, you can really spell out what your expectations are for operation, for service and maintenance, and other aspects of safety that you can include in an SOP. Informing a template for operations to use can be really helpful.
That's right.
We also talked about ventilation proactively. Again, maybe not with myself, but with EHS. I know you talked about the digital fabrication space for ventilation, namely the 3D printers. You have some really capable stuff up there, right? So
Absolutely.
nylon, you have the metals printer, you have resin, of course, printers.
Yep. We have SLA and SLS printers up in our additive manufacturing lab, as well as PolyJet. Yep.
Exactly. So some amount of health effects potentially, of course, associated with that, but having good ventilation, lab, something commensurate with lab level ventilation is important. We talked about ventilation for the welding room, and we compared and contrasted, approaches to general dilution ventilation versus local exhaust and what operations would warrant that local exhaust. I remember you worked with the Aux Safety Group on the forklift, the charging station, what's required for forklift charging, battery charging areas.
That's right.
We also talked about you worked with them for lifting attachments, so making sure you had the right attachments, how they might affect capacity, the inventory of slings and stuff, and not picking up loads by the forks, for example, that is not a pallet.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my first big purchases, a lot of accessories for our forklift
Yep.
to facilitate the bringing of our equipment and make sure they were auditing and checking them every year, make sure they're in.
All examples of just some
Good.
things to inspire folks here to think about safety as proactive as possible before
right.
things come into the shop, before things are purchased, that kind of thing. We also work proactively about waste management. We came up with the design of a waste accumulation area, a satellite area with the right signage and inspection and containers to capture waste.
Yeah.
We could talk more about that if anyone's interested on the expected waste or operations or controls in the 3D printing location.
Chemical safety, chemical
safety as a whole, setting
Yep.
up a chemical inventory, advising on locations of storage, flammable cabinet versus what can stay kind of out in the open or generic cabinet. And then finally, the one the highlight on the right side was you called attention to, you bought in the new, very capable metal laser cutter up to 3/8 inch steel, right?
Fiber cell laser, up to 1/2 inch aluminum and 1/4 inch plate steel and everything in between.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it was tough, right, to find the high pressured oxygen line, I believe it was, and what was the right compatible fittings and hoses and how it all, intersects together.
Right.
And we pulled in someone that has more of like a research and background of high pressured systems to kind of connect the dots and get you set up. And then, fire safety for the laser cutter areas upstairs, fire extinguisher location, properties of ventilation upstairs as well. And
getting us into the laser management program, auditing the lasers and the interlocks every year with EHS. Absolutely.
Okay, so on to another topic that hopefully you guys have some interest in, both in safety and operations, is how you manage user training, monitoring, and access. And I would say, does it not boil down to essentially, Jose, when you see someone doing something unsafe, you say, "No way, Jose." Is that pretty much sum it up?
That's exactly what I say. I actually just said that last week. Yeah, so our user training workflow, so when people come to Origin Labs and they're interested in using the tools, we always like to recommend that they start with our tool trainings. The tool trainings are free; they always will be free, and they're required to gain access to the analog tools, like I said earlier. So we always and they don't require a membership to take those trainings. So we always recommend that a user starts there. They can sign up on our website or they can contact me via email for batch trainings. And we offer our trainings kind of a la carte for all of our analog equipment. So we have 1 hour slots for all of our clearance trainings. And then after they take that training, they can then take out a membership if they want to use the analog tools for their equipment. And we maintain record keeping of everyone who's taken the trainings with us. Our high-risk tools are locked out at 5 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. So high-risk tools are only available when there's full-time staff here on the floor to help supervise. And then 5 to 8 p.m. when we're open in the evenings, 5 to 8 p.m. and 10 to 5 on Saturdays, we have our low-risk tools available, our Trotec laser cutters, our assembly area, our painting room, and that the space is managed by our technicians during the evening and weekend hours. Yep.
Let me interrupt just real quick.
Please.
And that would be to say user training. The fact that you are allowing users to access training for free is a really good example as a take home point to, the chat here. And that is to align shop operations and values and protocols with a university's, say, mission. Because
Right.
here at Penn State, we hear it all the time that Penn State is to be a living laboratory for students to live, learn, and thrive. And that's exactly what Origins Lab is.
Right.
By offering those trainings for free, it opens the door to really people to bring their education in classrooms and training to other locations and expand their capabilities.
Yeah.
And I, from personal experience, can speak to that. So the class that I teach now for a couple of semesters here, Roland, and I will teach in the spring, the safety principles of industrial safety. I bring my class to the shop and I give them an opportunity to learn hands-on about welding, right? So it's, again, the principle of integrating both the welding operation with welding safety. They learn a skill if they want to and practice and get to do it here in the shop. And we also talk about the implications of safety as a reminder and hands-on experience of what they learn in the classroom.
Absolutely.
And that's only one, example. I could talk about also our machine guarding lecture and how we come then down to the shop and receive a tour and get hands-on, some use on equipment and seeing different types of guards, talking about their limitations and advantages. So really amazing thing. Yeah.
And if I may interject, we have plenty of people who take our trainings just as a workforce development resource. I had a customer yesterday who's a car guy who's interested in learning more about welding. He might take out a membership with us and we would love to see him again. But even if he doesn't, that's a service that we are happy to be able to offer.
Yeah, amazing model to replicate or keep in mind, guys, as you go forward. You record all training, so individuals have to sign up with training on the portal or online.
That's
right.
right.
And that record of their attendance gets captured so that we can refer to it at any time in the future. Also, a bit about access control. You covered that topic there in the middle. I know you lock out the machines, right, when you don't have full-time staff coverage, the high-risk machines. We do break out equipment in our machine shop program at Penn State by different risk levels, so that aligns with our machine shop program. Another good example there of operations and program alignment. But what I wanted to bring up there is I know you guys worked on a card swipe system per machine even, which is amazing. So yeah.
That's a project that is still in progress. Basically, we are working on an RFID system that we want to tag into our high-risk tools so that when we train someone on the tool, we can then issue an RFID card and they can swipe the card, which will show either a green light or a red light to indicate whether they've taken that training or not. We've hit a couple speed bumps on that system, but still working on implementing it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not an easy problem to solve or something to work towards, especially because, right, someone swipes their card related to their training, related to their access, their ID or credential, and then it turns on a machine, allows you to turn it on. But then for how long, right? And what if, lots of these machines, you're running multiple cycles. You turn it off, you turn it back. So they're swiping every time. And so that could be cumbersome or just a difficult problem to solve, but it's just another creative solution. And that's what you guys do, right? You find and prototype and then implement creative solutions to problems that are hard to solve. That's the whole spirit of the place. And we apply that to safety as well. That reminded me of one more thing. We talked about safety by design and unique applications. I'm going a bit off script. Sorry from the slide here. We talked about guarding solutions. Another opportunity that a place like this has, right, is so there's some principles of machine guarding when something isn't, guarded properly that, folks here I'm sure can relate to. And that is the first approach to when you have a machine guarding issue is you always approach the manufacturer, the original equipment manufacturer, to say, do you have a solution that can retrofit or protect this, right? And if that falls through, and we've worked through this exact sequence, right? If that falls through, you go to third party type companies, right? Because there's some out there, Rockford and others, that will come in for a fortune, design and implement a control that's a custom fabrication and whatever. But then you have the third option, and remember those, notice those words I just said, right? Design, fabricate, prototype, install, like that is what you guys do, right?
Absolutely.
And so for those unique, hard to solve applications, this facility serves as that solution, right?
Sure.
And we had an example of that. We went through those sequence of solutions and we landed on a custom solution. And you guys prototyped and eventually 3D printed an extension for a guard on the bandsaw.
That's right. So our metalworking lab, we have a horizontal bandsaw. And for those who might not have one, a lot of horizontal bandsaws, you can use them in vertical mode to use as a regular bandsaw for metalworking. The manufacturer guard at its fullest extent still left about 6 inches of blade
In vertical
exposed
mode, yeah.
in vertical mode. Thank you. So, and Elliot flagged that attending the clearance training that we were outfitting. So, he flagged that as an issue. My talented technicians and I worked to design a simple solution, that screws right into the tool. No serious modifications needed, and we 3D printed it and prototyped it right here in house, and we have the file on saved now. So if it ever gets damaged, we can just print it again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome example. Sorry, I had to call that out.
No,
And,
thank you.
let's go back, here to our reference, and that would be lastly, you already talked to it, but monitoring, right? Because in our program, it's kind of, we have users kind of divided out in categories. And the first being, students, undergraduate students that are learning and whatnot, they kind of need direct supervision. They do need direct supervision. And then you have more capable, let's say graduate students, TAs, technicians that, maybe don't have to be directly monitored, but shouldn't work alone. And then you have like the qualified professionals like yourself that depending on, and all this depends on the risk of the tool and stuff as well. But could you just recap, because I took us off the rails there a bit, your approach to shop floor monitoring, presence, supervision, that kind of thing? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of our most important safety protocols here at Origin Labs is that no one is ever working on the floor alone. Whether they've taken the clearance trainings or not, doesn't matter what the tool is. So our high risk tools, that would be like the table saws, the miter saws, things like that. Those are going to be available 9 to 5 Mondays through Fridays when there's full-time staff available. Myself, our student engagement outreach coordinator, we're usually at our desks, which are located here inside the shop, so we can have direct oversight to customers using the floor and things like that. And then after 5 p.m., when those high-risk tools get locked out, our technicians take over the supervision of the space, and they monitor the space when low-risk tools are available, our laser cutters upstairs, the majority of our metalworking tools, occasionally our welders, and they have oversight to help customers and facilitate supervision of the tools for things like that.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a great strategy. Training, access control, all working out really well. Let us know if you have any questions on the operations or safety side on those topics.
Absolutely.
Look at you in that chair. Jose loves this joke, and I had to add this in here. So this is the hierarchy of controls. The safety side will be more than familiar with this. And of course, I had to add the highest of the hierarchy, and that's just saying, no way, Jose.
That's my motto.
Yeah. I love that joke because it makes no sense.
It
Because
doesn't.
it's
My
your
name's
name.
Jose.
I
So
think-
unless their name was Jose.
Love it. Spam no way Jose in the chat. Spam that. Okay, so we have just 5-10 minutes before we should leave some time for some questions. Let's just talk about we probably covered this to be honest, but what lessons learned come to mind? And I stole our thunder. The first photo there is the bandsaw.
Sure.
So we talked about that, a guarding solution, and maybe I might sum that up in, as you earlier referred to, is just working with EHS as early as possible.
Absolutely.
Right. And we talked about examples first in the hiring process, right? Before we even build out the team, you guys reaching out, Ryan reaching out to our director to say, hey, would someone from EHS be on our hiring committee so they can interview our shop supervisor to learn about what their experiences in building safety culture, enforcing safety, from being familiar with programs. So that was just awesome. I mean, I was very happy to be a part of that. It started the relationship off on the best foot possible, for sure.
Agreed.
And then also that example of being proactive is the machine guarding assessment and reviewing training protocols. So those two we talked about already in detail. We have the photo there to remind us about the machine guarding outcome and some modifications, additions, or whatever. So that's a great one. You also have the hot work area here.
Yeah. So, really the safety culture has really been a tag team effort, between EHS and Origin Labs. As I started, I was really unfamiliar for a lot of the specific programs here at Penn State, relevant to our operations. And, on yet another advantage of you taking the clearance trainings, you took my welding training and pointed out that we needed to get in line with our hot work program regulation. And you got us set up with the right hot work permit, helped us to clarify our protocols relating to that hot work program. Same thing with our laser and our plasma cutting and our grinding area. You help to inform a lot of our PPE purchasing decisions and things like that. I know what I know, but it's always helpful to get the expertise from someone, a safety professional like you in EHS. I also have a photo of a critical piece of equipment in our woodworking lab, our dust collector, which is really a crucial piece of safety equipment, which unfortunately went down about a year ago. We were having trouble getting to the bottom of that, and EHS connected us with some professionals that were able to help us diagnose the problem and rectify it. So
Yeah, no, essential for safety and for quality and operations. The dust collector, wasn't it something about the size of chips versus fine dust and whatever? If you don't mind.
Yeah, that contributed to the problem. We had it tied into our CNC. We processed a lot of MDF, and the fine dust was wreaking havoc on the dust collector. So we elected to dedicate a separate dust collection system for our CNC router and modify our maintenance protocols on the crucial dust collector to help avoid that problem in the future. Yeah.
So I was inspired to ask a question. Sorry, off script completely.
Please.
And if you can't think of an answer, that's okay. Maybe I can chime in. What do you think is a quality you would look for in a safety professional? For someone to be an advocate that you enjoy working with, for whatever, whatever. What do you think? Anything come to mind?
I think someone who is proactive about calling out safety issues. I appreciate that in our relationship, even though we have developed a good friendship, you're not afraid to point out issues on the shop. I don't take it as an offense. I take it as thank you for pointing that out. I didn't know that. I think someone who is proactive about safety culture and takes it seriously is one of the most valuable qualities and something I really appreciate about you.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
Proactive, consistent, able to
Absolutely.
prioritize. I think that would be important as
Absolutely.
well because you
Absolutely.
guys are busy. I mean,
Yeah.
so busy from the start, from before the start, whatever that means. Just so busy. So being able to prioritize risk is important as well.
Absolutely.
So you can ask me.
What would you say one of the most valuable traits in a shop manager that you look
Yeah.
for? First name Jose.
Yeah. First name Jose. Awesome chair, sailor's chair, nautical theme. I think I appreciate, and I'm thinking back to the like interview process, and that was someone who is just a people person, right? Like that cares about people, like genuinely cares about people, their safety, their education, their experience, and that's for sure, what I saw immediately, in that process for you, and so that's just going to win out over everything, over the technical expertise and. You do the thing. You're a professional. You can do the thing. And as far as safety, like you had the background for sure, solid. But then what's over the top is just that genuine care of making yourself available to better other people, to care about safety, to really prevent, the incidents or accidents from occurring. So yeah, that's what came to mind. And I
Oh,
thought that might be
thank
helpful
you
for
for saying
folks.
that. Yeah.
So I'm going to zip through this quick so we have plenty of time for questions. I think we're at about perfect timing here for about quarter till. And what you got here, guys, is we'll make the presentation available to you so you can use this as a tool. I'm not going to cover this in depth whatsoever, but I went ahead and created a safety checklist for Makerspace. Inspired by this location, facility, and capabilities and equipment, I created a safety checklist that refers to those EHS programs and categories that we briefly scanned earlier, and has specific checklist items to look for, whether you're a shop manager, whether you're an EHS professional, but probably ideally that you're working together to assess each of these items, their compliance, life safety, operational safety, machine shop safety, and the whole gamut. So just to flip through that quick, you have these different topics. It should follow right in line with the ones I introduced earlier. And it gives some examples of points of safety to review, assess, evaluate, and make sure that we're on top of things. Feel free to ask any questions about any specific topics that we saw earlier that came to mind. The other thing I include in this presentation as a takeaway is a punch list. So, pretty similar, right? The checklist to evaluate safety, but this is a punch list that was practically identical of what we found in our journey early on, right? So it's giving a more of a practical example of things we actually found. Some of the stuff we already talked about. an example that randomly came to mind is the idea of anchoring our rack storage, where the forklift is
Absolutely.
going to, interact with anchoring that to the ground, as well as putting capacity labels on that. We talked about some guarding examples, just some reoccurring items as well. You'll see a variety of items in here that can maybe inspire you in their safety at the shop. I grouped it into items to acquire or install, items to maybe adjust, make some fine tuning, documentation, and training. So if you have a makerspace that is similar to the equipment and capabilities that we outlined here, this will be highly applicable, and I hope you find it helpful.
Still amazes me how long that list has become. Yeah.
No, I mean, and that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like we highlighted ways or examples of things that we improved here, but a good shop manager, a good safety professional, they're going to find things anywhere,
Of
right? I
course.
mean, especially when it's
Absolutely.
brand new. So
Absolutely.
a lot of those, oh, that's the other thing I should clarify. Those aren't findings due to noncompliance. A lot of cases,
Right.
those are findings because you just started, right?
Of course.
How could
Yeah.
you be enrolled in a respiratory protection program if
Right.
you've not yet existed at the university, right? They're to-do list items in a proactive manner. Thus, the theme throughout this presentation.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, amazing. I think we're done chatting for now, and we're
Think
ready
so.
to field some questions. Hopefully, we received some. And I believe Elizabeth is serving as our moderator. So I will stop sharing our screen and I will stand by to hear some questions.
Yeah, I'm going to ask. So your colleagues were very proactive and answered things in the chat. So people can post any questions that weren't. I think most of them all got answered. A lot of them were on your PPE and how do you regulate that with guests and students? If you want to highlight maybe how.
I start.
Please.
Yeah. So thank you. So first of all, the cornerstone of PPE selection and availability is a required process that has to happen called a PPE hazard assessment. And so this is something that you'd see like on the punch list, for example, that we'd work through. In our case, our university has a library of required PPE based on certain tasks that are very common in spaces like this. And then there's a tool or a worksheet to assess further for unique applications. For example, you put an end effector on a robot and it has unique exposure. But then the outcome of that is required PPE, a log of training for PPE, and that kind of thing. But PPE availability and stuff can get a little sticky when you're dealing with the public as well.
Sure.
It's not just a sole employee only environment in here, but that would be the cornerstone is a good PPE hazard assessment done collaboratively with a safety professional or trained, competent supervisor that can do that assessment. Could you talk to just general PPE approaches, location, availability, expectations here at the shop?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I started, our director had been proactive in purchasing kind of a baseline set of PPE, which would be standard for any fabrication space, with woodworking, metalworking. You've got your safety glasses that are impact rated, ANSI standard safety glasses, hearing protection, both over the ear and disposable, nuisance masks, things like that. As I settled into the role and started developing our clearance trainings and things like that. There were specific examples like our welding lab, where we purchase auto darkening helmets and all the standard welding gear and things like that. There were a couple times where we, you and I had conversations about maybe issues that I wasn't expecting. We do have an SLS exact metal stainless steel 3D printer upstairs that has pretty strict PPE requirements due to the powder handling. And we opted to purchase a couple of powered air purifying respirators, which we thought would negate the need to worry about half-face respirators and keeping clean shaven, things like that. You pointed out to us that we wanted to, get tested to make sure that we had sufficient that we were healthy enough to keep using those PAPRs and things like that.
Exactly. So in general, PPE being readily available to any and all users. A lot of the times we set strict requirements based on SOPs and training of safety glasses, for example, as the bare minimum for pretty much any fabrication equipment. we could get into a lot more details about hearing conservation because, right, it's going to be based on measured exposure on if we're enrolled in that program. Hearing protection always made available. And then we could talk more detail about respiratory protection. And we could talk about limiting certain tasks to qualified full-time operators. So the
Exactly.
amount of people that we enroll in these programs is manageable
Right.
instead of, 15 total people. It's just like a core group of individuals that do certain tasks like powder loading for the 3D printer.
Absolutely.
All right. What else, Elizabeth? Thank you.
Do you require medical evaluations for students, not employees for respirators?
So no, we do not require medical evaluations, but that is because students do not deal with powder handling here at Origin Labs. So we are fortunate to have a dedicated space for painting and finishing operations that has pretty robust fume extraction. We do make nuisance masks available, but we do not have any processes relating to powder handling or anything like that students would need a half-face respirator for.
Yeah. And maybe just talk to that question more globally here at Penn State, like our employer program. If a student is employed in some capacity, receiving compensation, they would get enrolled in the program if they were wearing, a respirator that warrants the need for medical evaluation. In this context, students, one, don't do the task.
Correct.
Student employees don't do the task, so therefore don't have application to the program. Or students, meaning like the general community, they just wouldn't do that task, don't have exposure, and then aren't employed by any means necessary. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, only full-time staff handles those operations here.
all right.
Uh,
Some more, Elizabeth, please.
I have one. So I know with ours, we have a lot of maker spaces that are 24-hour access. Did you ever have any pushback or any people wanting longer hours? Because I saw that some of yours like were 5 p.m. and most of our students don't get out of class until after 5.
Yeah, so we're only about 3 years old. Right now, we are open until 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays and 10 to 5 on Saturdays. We're definitely even in these past couple of years, we have seen a positive upward trend in the usage of our space. So that would be a conversation with our director in EHS, I'm sure. But I would say that usage of the space does not yet warrant 24-hour access, but hopefully one day it will. And, we can have those conversations then.
And then again, speaking about our program implications, I would say that it would have to be a very much reduced offering
Right.
of what tools and equipment that would align with our low risk or, referring to the matrix in the program, about what students can use
Sure.
freely and by themselves without monitoring. It'd be a very limited pool of equipment. I do. So yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. Any others in the chat that we could handle?
Yeah, I just put out a call. I just want to say, I know we had a lot of questions about the recording being available. I'm going to work with central office. What we try to do is send out the recording to those who registered. It'll be available on the SHEMA membership forum. But we'll also make sure that the student shop manager consortium also has access to the recording.
Yeah.
Service bureau projects are built at cost. Does that include labor costs?
Yes. So anyone who approaches our service bureau, they would start with a free consultation with our service bureau manager, just to assess their needs and things like that. And then we will bill them. We'll draw up a contract relevant to the costs associated with that project. So, labor costs if needed, yes. Machine setup time if needed. For example, a lot of people, our CNC services are operated through the service bureau. And there is a CNC rate of around $25 an hour. That includes the labor cost. But yeah, if someone was hiring us to fabricate a project for them, we would bill the labor costs accordingly as needed.
Another example is I had some parts 3D printed, and I remember filling out the form and whatever, and there's a cost based on time, but also material that you had to quantify how much.
So our
say,
additive
media.
our additive manufacturing is operated through the service bureau. Generally, we're just billing for the weight of the parts if someone is buying a 3D print from us. We have a sliding scale depending on the material. 35 cents a gram to 50 cents a gram is the range, I think. Or it might be 30 cents a gram to 50 cents a gram, I think. Yeah.
How did you, as a safety pro, manage to learn about the unique state-of-the-art tools and equipment at the Origin Lab to be able to integrate safety into operations?
Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, wait, I'm the safety guy, right?
You're
Right.
the safety
Yeah.
guy, I think.
So yeah, an example I'm staring in the face right now is a combination jointer planer, which was unique to me. I mean, maybe folks on the other SSMC side have heard of that before, but I've used a planer a million times, I've used a jointer a million times, but not a combo unit. And so that example of going through, or we called it piloting the training modules, was really essential to kind of learn about the hazards and honestly the operation. Again, I always say equally as important to know how to operate the thing and how people are interacting and how they might be exposed to the hazards, its limitations, the advantages of its design, all really important. So actually taking the training and going through that exercise with your shop manager of learning how to use it and using it really is super important. Um, I mean, any other examples come to mind in like upstairs or anything?
I think one for me, so I come from a background in theatrical production, and one of the things that we have off screen is a sliding table panel saw, which I had actually never used before I came here. I'd used vertical panel saws, but not a sliding table. Our director trained me on the use of the sliding table panel saw, and SSMC was also a really helpful resource as we built out that training and things like that. But yeah, I think part of it is, connecting yourself with communities that have that institutional knowledge and doing your due diligence to understand the manuals, safety manuals, the safe use of the tools.
Leaning on manufacturer information also really
Absolutely. Yeah,
important.
good
So that's
point.
something that we could reference in multiple examples here, right? What does the manufacturer require? That's really our baseline. That's
Yeah.
what a safety professional is always going to say. I think if they're saying the right answer, of course we have our regs and stuff to follow, but what are our expectations of safety for, say, PPE, for safe operation, for sequence of operation? I would first say let's look at the manual,
Right.
because we're going to refer to that as the baseline, and that's where we see examples of like the metal 3D printer of using an air purifying respirator, powered air purifying respirator for powder changeout.
Right.
That chamber is super well ventilated. You have an explosion proof vacuum that's hooked up. It's
That's right.
directly ventilated, filtered and captured. But if that's what they recommend, we're down for, following that and then,
Absolutely.
having conservative layers of safety implemented.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for us, Elizabeth?
It looks like people are interested in your 3D printer protocols. They're having a challenge managing what students can do on these tools, given their hazards and the respiratory protection program needs. And it looks like one of your colleagues is going to email them that. So I think a lot of people are interested in some of the documents that y'all have come up with.
Yes, so I do want to clarify that our additive manufacturing lab is managed entirely by our service bureau. So it is not available for the average student to walk up to and print. So it's managed entirely by our team. And our director set that expectation from the beginning, just partly to get ahead of that and to stay in line with our operational needs. So only our staff manages our additive manufacturing lab. We have SLA, SLS, and PolyJet technologies. The student technicians assist with SLA and PolyJet handling and parts processing. Full-time staff, being myself and our service bureau manager, are the only ones that deal with powder handling on our SLS
So
side.
well controlled here, but I know us and Shima, we've had conversations about funky stuff of like, 3D, people can buy a 3D printer, right? I can go on
Absolutely.
Amazon, buy a bamboo, whatever, and people can use that in their dorm room or how do you control that? That's hard. And then there's other, maker spaces that allow for a lot more free access of 3D printers and
Sure.
stuff. I think you might find on our checklist, there's some guidance there. You might find that helpful. We can have further conversations. We can involve Tristan, and other
Absolutely.
folks here if you want to talk about protocols for safety for 3D printers, because you got them all,
Right.
sintering and
We
all
don't have
different
FDM,
types.
but we do have, yeah, SLA, SLS, and
Deposition.
PolyJet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha. So yeah, more on that to come. I think we're at time, and
Yeah.
so I just wanted to say, man, thanks for doing this. Super
Likewise.
fun.
Yeah, still fun.
Always
Thank
a
you,
good time. I
everybody.
hope you guys enjoyed this like kind of podcast style, a little
Yeah.
bit of a unique. We're not lecturing or talking at you. We're having a conversation. I have other ideas, and
Hmm.
with you or without you, I have some ideas.
I'm down.
Yeah. So maybe more collabs to come. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed. that's all for us. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Elizabeth, if you have
Thank
any
you.
final words, we're all set. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, everyone.
no, thank you. Remember, we are always excited to see new formats and hear new topics, even continuation. So if you want to present again, or if anyone who's still on, if you want to present, please reach out to the Professional Development Committee with Shima. Yeah, so have a great afternoon.